Hello and a warm welcome to everyone joining us today as we are doing a live Q&A with some students and staff of the University of Glasgow for any future undergraduate students. So I'm Katy, I'm from the External Relations team, and I'm really pleased to see you here today to this live session. I know we've got people tuning in from across the world, so it's really great that you're able to join us today. We're going to be live for the next hour or so, and we're hoping to get through as many of your questions as we possibly can in that time. And we'll also be answering questions that you post in the comments sections. Firstly, I'm going to just pass over to our panel so they can introduce themselves to you. So if we start with Fatima.
Hi everyone, my name is Fatima. I am going to be a third year medical student as of September, and I've been at the University of Glasgow for 6 years now, as I also did my undergraduate degree here.
Great, thank you, Fatima. And next we have Jachine.
Hi everyone, my name is Jachine Oguta. I am going into my third year of business and management, and I'm from Kenya.
Hi, Jachine, thank you. And last but not least, we have Mark.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark and I'm the Senior Exchange Coordinator in the Go Abroad team within Global Opportunities. I've been working at the university for about 6 years now.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Mark. So now you know who we all are, we can just get started on our questions. So our first question, we're going to come to students, Fatima and Jachine, and we're wondering if you could tell us a bit about what you're studying and why you applied to Glasgow in the first place. So if Fatima, you could go first, please.
So, like I said, I am studying medicine at Glasgow, but before I studied medicine here, I studied my undergraduate degree in anatomy here for 4 years. I decided to stay at Glasgow because it's truly a wonderful place with such amazing facilities, such as the new Arc building, the Clarice Pears, and the James McCune Smith building. There's so much to offer. Glasgow is such a wonderful city, and it's so diverse, and the West End, where the university is situated, is such an amazing place, buzzing full of activities for students to participate in.
That's great. Thank you so much. How about you, Jachine?
So I'm going into my third year of business and management, and I decided to pick my course here because there are a lot of opportunities when it comes to what you're studying with the range of different classes, and also having different classes on the side that you can do when it comes to, for example, I did economics on the side with my degree. And I also picked Glasgow because, number one, I'm very big on the music scene. I love how the music scene is very big around here. And also, I love how wide the city is. It seems like a small city at first, but once you travel around, there's a lot of things to do as well.
Yeah, lots of people talk to us about how much they enjoy, particularly the city and our location here, and we'll probably talk a bit about that more later. We're going to move to our next question and talk about coming to us as an international student, because we're really proud that we have quite a broad and wide range of international students coming to us from really all over the world. And Jachine, you actually joined us as an international student. So we were wondering if you could just talk to us a bit about what it was like to move to Scotland from somewhere else and how you found settling in here.
Right. So I moved directly from Kenya, so basically halfway across the world. And when I moved here, it was quite a smooth experience coming from the airport to my accommodation at the time. Everybody here is very nice and friendly, and also getting stuff like my visa and my BRP, going to the facilities in the university where they can help you with all of that during your first week here. So it was a very smooth experience. Also learning how to adjust to different stuff, such as going, signing up for clubs, signing up for classes. Everything is made very clear. And if anybody ever needed help, then just email the schools or the offices and they'll get back to you within like a day. So yeah, it was a very smooth transition in my part.
That's great. Yeah, we do actually have a dedicated international student support team at Glasgow, and they're here to help with things like any questions you have around getting to Glasgow, your visa, what the rules are around working as an international student. And the international student support team are also really friendly. They run our international student orientation, and that's like a specialized program to make sure you have everything that you need before your studies start. So you'll see there's a little bit of information running along the bottom of the screen now that shows you where you can go online to find more information about the kind of international student support that we have at Glasgow. Thank you, Jachine. So Fatima, I know that you were already a student from Glasgow, and so we're wondering what your experience was like settling in. How different was that to Jachine, and how easy or hard did you find it?
I mean, when I joined 17 years old coming from school, I think you always think that the people that travel to Glasgow that don't live at home will have the true university experience. But being a student at the time who stayed at home, I just immersed myself fully into Freshers Week. Unfortunately, at the time, COVID hadn't impacted us yet, so we were able to do and participate in all the activities. And by doing that, you make friends, and slowly but surely, you begin to accumulate a big group of friends at the start. And slowly that, it narrows down as you progress throughout your degree, and that's truly what you want. But by participating and actively going to all the events that the university offers, both social and different types of events, really, it's suited to all people, not just drinkers, but non-drinkers as well. You really do feel that you're welcomed into the university with open arms, and I find that I settled in very quickly, and I'm very fortunate in that case. And I know that everyone around me has said the exact same, and we all have had such a great experience being students here at the university.
That's really great to hear. I can kind of second that, I guess, because although I'm a member of staff at the university, I'm actually also a graduate a long time ago. And two of my best friends who I still stay in touch with now are from university days. So it's a really friendly place. And once you make those friends, you can often keep them for, your whole life. So we've had a few questions about accommodation, and it'd be really interesting to hear from you both about whether you have lived in private accommodation, whether you've experienced student halls and what that was like. So if we start with Jachine here for this one, please.
Right. So I lived in private accommodation. I'm still doing private accommodation till this day. And I like private accommodation. It's not made a very hard process as long as you follow the procedures that are on their websites. And also finding them is not a very hard thing to do. Looking up different websites for the certain accommodations, you'll be able to find stuff around. It's also the same thing with like finding flats as well, where you can look up different websites or go to the different agencies around Glasgow that advertise the different flats that you want to move into. And you have a very wide range. It's just all about the timing and following their due dates and making sure you're able to submit stuff on time in order for you to find a place here. But otherwise, when I was moving into private accommodation, I had really lovely flatmates. Everybody's been super nice, keeping everything tidy. So you still have the same experience as living in uni halls. Maybe it's a bit more quiet. From my experience, it was a bit more of a quiet experience. But otherwise, it's still the exact same feeling as being in a regular uni hall compared to what you would expect living in a private student accommodation. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, you must have obviously had an experience that you're happy with to keep going with that as an option. And just to say, it's some really good advice Jachine has there about just making sure you hit the deadlines and sort of apply in time. So, that's the case for private accommodation and also for if you decide to apply for university accommodation. So we've had some questions about applying for that. And the best thing to do once you've received an offer from the university, whether it's conditional or unconditional, and you've accepted that offer, you can start your application for accommodation at that point, and it's good to get going early. So if anyone is joining us this coming September, you should apply as soon as possible and no later than the 14th July, and meet conditions of study by the 25th of August. So Fatima, maybe we could hear from you about what your accommodation experience has been.
Sure, I stayed at home throughout my undergraduate degree just because it was easier for me at the time. I was only working a part-time job and didn't really want to be paying much into rent by privately renting a flat in the West End. So I opted to stay at home, and the most important thing for me was ensuring that I was still, meeting up with my friends, so I didn't get the fear of missing out that sometimes I feel students do feel when you're not going to student halls. But personally, that was just something that I didn't really want to do. And then when I came to study medicine, I'm very fortunate in that my sister is actually in the same year as me. And so we decided to rent in the West End. So we rented a flat for the year. Again, it was slightly difficult to find a flat. I'm sure that's no new news to anybody. It is unfortunately just becoming a slightly trickier adventure compared to what it was before. However, once we did, we settled in nicely, and it was really, really nice living in the West End. And we were able to, walk to university instead of driving in each day, and that made a different change. And I felt like I was fully immersed as a student. But that's not to say that if you do stay at home, you can't feel that same sort of feeling, because like I said before, I stayed at home for 4 years before, and I felt as just as much as a Glasgow uni student as I do now. So I would say, although they're different, you're immersing yourself in the student life either way.
That's great. It's really good broad range of experience there for you to be able to talk to us about. So thanks for that. You'll have seen there's been a little bit of information there about the SRC, which can provide accommodation advice. So SRC, for anyone who doesn't know, stands for Student Representative Council, and they're there. We're going to be talking about them a bit later as well, I think. They're there to offer advice on all sorts of student issues, and accommodation being one of them. And they've made a really good sort of guide to accommodation, so it's well worth checking that out. Okay, so a lot of people tuning in today might still be in school, and so might not be that sure what a typical university day might look like, and what a week might look like for a university student compared to being still at school. And obviously teaching hours and the experience does depend on what degree you're doing and the subject that you're studying, but it'd be really interesting to hear sort of what an average week would look like for each of you. So perhaps we could start with you, Jachine.
Right. So a typical day for me would be around 2 to 3 classes a day, all spanning within an hour. My classes are very widespread, so sometimes I'll have a morning lecture, and then around like 9 or 10 in the morning, and then I have maybe a 4-hour break. And then going into that, I would go in the afternoons for another lecture or I'm trying to figure out the word, for a workshop, for lack of better words, where we go in and we do the different problems, like problem sets with other students. It also, again, depends on the amount of classes you have depends on the subject. For example, for business and management, I would have maybe 1 to 2 different classes. And then since I studied economics on the side, economics classes were almost every single day. And then I also had a bit of Central Eastern European studies, which there were lectures every day, and then the workshops were once a week. And it's a nice way to also get to know your peers outside of lectures, because lectures, normally you're sitting down and you're just writing your notes. But then the workshops is like you get to know different people, and you're split up into different groups based off of the amount of people that are in your course. And so if you're worried about getting to know people in your course, definitely talk to people during the workshops. Otherwise, outside of classes, mostly doing clubs and societies. I did African Caribbean society, and then I dabbled in other societies like salsa society, going for, and you don't have to be in a specific society to go to society socials. So sometimes I would pop into different society socials. Like I went for the French one, and also the photography society as well, when they advertise on their Instagram pages about going for different places for different socials. Like photography social, I went for a exhibition for photography, and yeah. So, and also just exploring around Glasgow as well, typically during the week, going out, doing regular errands of shopping after my classes, or in between the time that I don't have a lecture to the time that I have to go for my next one. Yeah, that would be a typical week.
Great. Yeah, it sounds like you're kind of really making the most of trying to like round out your experience of like learning with the sort of typical teaching styles, like the lectures and things. Is it maybe seminars or tutorials? The workshop, is that maybe what it's called?
Yeah, tutorials. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah, the kind of smaller classes where you're getting to maybe talk a bit more and you work on things together, like you say. And then I'm wondering as well if you have time where you spend time like in the library, or if there's like you have to do your own independent research or work as part of, if you've got essays or things like that you work on, or if it's all kind of confined to your class time.
Normally I would go to the library in the evenings. Like when I have all of my classes done is when I decide to spend maybe 3 to 4 hours in the library. I don't always work in the library. Sometimes I'll work in my room because my room has like a whole desktop for me to use. Or I'll go down to my accommodation studying room. But most of the time it's either in the library or somewhere else around campus for me to do my work on my laptop. And I also work with my friends to do like different studying times as well. And they're all in different degrees. So we come up with a time schedule for us to all come together and just do work.
Oh, great. Yeah, great. Thanks, Jachine. So Fatima, I imagine you have a different experience because your degree is quite different. So if you could talk us through that, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Medicine is, as I'm sure most people know, quite an intense degree. So there are a lot of contact hours, and a lot of it is also independent learning. But I would say a standard week for a medical student at Glasgow University would comprise of getting your lectures, your online lectures released either the previous Friday or the Monday morning. And then that's really independent for you to work through. It's your own responsibility to get through that in whatever way suits you. And then we also have 3 hours of vocational studies once a week, usually on a Wednesday. And that's just if you're in a certain cohort. If you're not in that cohort, then you do have the Wednesday completely free, which is really nice. The university give you the Wednesday to do whatever activity you like. It's often also kept for anybody involved in any of the sports teams at the university. And then we also get problem-based learning for 2 hours a week, where we work on clinical-based scenarios with one another. That's like your standard. And then on top of that, we will have in-person lectures. We also sometimes have clinical skill sessions where we learn different skills such as basic life support, how to take blood pressures, for example. The list can go on and on and on. And then sometimes, fortunately, as COVID has eased, we've had the opportunity to do this more and more. We're able to go to GP practices, and we're able to interact with simulated patients, which is really, really nice to put what you've learned into practice. And then outside of the university, outside of like the uni work that they issue us, you can do whatever you like with your time. Often that does involve spending a few hours at the library or at your house or at your flat, whichever you prefer. It's also really nice to sometimes find some of the new buildings at the university, which are kind of a secret just now. And it's nice because you can easily find a space there. But it's nice to just walk across to the art building, for example, a huge open space with its own cafeteria, a really nice study area. And then you can do whatever you like. I used to like going to the gym, but as the pace picked up, I found myself unable to go to the gym as much as I like, but everyone really does different things. Some people work part-time, which I'm sure we'll touch on later. it's just really up to you how to manage your time. But I would say that is like a standard week in the life of a medical student in first to second year. And as the years progress, the contact hours increase and we do become more clinical based, so we're not in university as much. But the first 2 years, you do really spend a lot of your time in the university buildings themselves.
Great, thank you so much, Fatima. So we're going to move now to talk about something that is kind of a benefit that students can access. So one of the opportunities that is open to undergraduate students is the chance to study abroad during your studies. We're really, really pleased to have Mark here today to be able to talk to us about this. He's part of the team that helps organise these kind of things. So maybe, Mark, if you can just talk to us a bit about the opportunities available to students.
Yeah, of course. So there's quite a few opportunities that are available to students, but I'll give you a kind of broad overview. And I'll start with the Go Abroad programme, which is the programme that most students would get involved in. So the Go Abroad programme allows students to go on exchange for either a semester or a full year to one of our partner universities around the world. So this exchange would normally take place in your third year. And just to give you an idea of how many partners might be available to you, we have just under 300 partners globally. And this year alone, we're sending students to 33 different countries. So while you're on exchange, your credits would be transferable. That means while you're on exchange at the partner university, any grades that you get would convert back to Glasgow and would make up part of your degree. It would contribute towards your GPA and your final degree. While you're on exchange, there's no fees that you would pay at the partner university. So during this period, you would remain a student at the University of Glasgow, and you'll just continue to pay any fees applicable to Glasgow as normal. The applications for studying abroad would take place in your second year of study, and it would be between October and December. During that application process, you'd be speaking to me and my team, the Go Abroad team, and you'd also be speaking to a subject coordinator who is located within your subject or school. There's one for every single subject or school, and they help you with the academic matching. You would also be able to speak to your coordinator and to our team at the Go Abroad Fair, which takes place every October. We generally have about between 1,000 and 2,000 students come to the fair, usually held at the Glasgow Union. And you'd have a chance to speak to us, hear some presentations, speak to your subject coordinator, and get a better idea for where you could possibly go abroad. You'll probably see a website going across the bottom of the screen at the moment. If you go onto this website, you'll be able to find something called the destination tool. That's where you can put in the details of your degree subject and where you might like to go abroad. You could pick certain countries, and it'll provide you a full list of partner universities that we have available currently. Obviously, by the time you go on exchange, partners might have varied a little bit, but it's a good tool to use at the moment, and you can get an idea for what's available at the moment and what's likely to be available in the future. And we try to fund as much of these exchanges as possible. Unfortunately, we're kind of subject to external factors. At the moment, we've left the Erasmus programme, but the UK government has started a programme called the Turing Scheme, which allows us to fund students. Our hope is that Turing Scheme will continue and we'll be able to continue to fund students on their exchange. But it's important to note that funding doesn't usually cover the entirety of what you can expect to spend when you're on exchange. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, then it's a good idea to consider starting to save at the moment. There is one exception. Sorry, I should have clarified that when you go on exchange, it doesn't add any time to your degree. It would just be your third year. So it would replace your third year at Glasgow. The only exception to this is for languages students. So if you're coming to the University of Glasgow to do a languages degree, then your year abroad is compulsory, and it adds on a year-to-year degree. So overall, you would have a 5-year degree. You would go on exchange in third year, and then you would come back into your junior honours and your senior honours years. So that's a programme that most students will get involved in. But additionally, we also offer summer schools opportunities. So summer schools are short-term study opportunities. They normally last between 1 week and 4 weeks. The applications run every year between January to March, and there's no restriction on the university that you could go to or the subject that you take part in. So if you are, for example, a business management student, you could go and do a summer school in archaeology, for example. There's no restriction as the credits that you receive. You normally don't receive credits for a summer school, so it doesn't transfer back to Glasgow. The way that's funded is if the summer school is with a partner university, then we have a number of fee waivers that we can use, so you don't have to pay a fee. If it's at a non-partner university, then it's possible that the summer school would have a fee attached to it, and we provide small scholarships to help you meet these costs. Summer schools are eligible for every year apart from final year students. So you could go in your first year if you wanted to, and it's a really great kind of taster experience. It gives you an idea of what it's like to study abroad, particularly the ones that last for 4 weeks. You get to experience a whole month in a different country. It's a great taster experience. But additionally, there's obviously a smaller financial outlay for you, as it's a shorter period. So this is something that you might find interesting. You're also not limited to going to one summer school. You could apply in your first year, your second year, your third year. You could potentially go multiple times. And the last of the opportunities that are available are short-term mobilities. And these are usually projects that are arranged within your subject or school. They're usually short-term. They normally last between 1 to 2 months, but they change on a yearly basis. And we expect to see an increasing number of these opportunities become available over the next few years.
That's brilliant. It's really good to know that there's so many different ways that people can kind of get to this opportunity, whether you've just got a small amount of time or you want to get a bit more immersed, and the fact that there's support there to help you make sure you get the right kind of opportunity that you're looking for, and look for things like saving up or accessing funding to enable you to be able to do that. I know there's just going to be so many advantages to having this kind of experience when you're a student, and I just wondered if you could talk us through kind of why people would want to consider studying abroad, the advantages it brings to them.
Yeah, of course. So there are many benefits to studying abroad. We could probably talk about it for a long time, but I've tried to narrow it down into 3 main areas. So we could broadly you could break it down into social benefits, academic benefits, and professional or employability benefits. So first of all, I think the social benefits are vast. You've got the opportunity to make lifelong connections with people from all around the world, and not only from your host country, but you're likely to be exposed to many other students, many other international students, and many other exchange students from all around the world. So it's a great opportunity to meet new people. It's likely that you'll make new friends that will be lifelong friends, that you'll keep in touch with long after you've left university. And research has shown that students who study abroad on average have higher levels of intercultural competency, they're more adaptable, and have a broader global perspective. So these are really valuable qualities to have today. Secondly, you have the academic benefits. So the academic benefits come from having the opportunity to study in a different academic environment, which can be a valuable learning experience. So according to a study by the Institute of International Education, students who studied abroad had on average higher GPAs than their peers who did not study abroad. It also allows you to access courses or research opportunities that maybe wouldn't be available to you at the University of Glasgow, and also a different way of learning and a different way of studying. So studying abroad can be a great way to expand your academic horizons and explore new areas of interest that you might not have had the opportunity to at Glasgow. And finally, there's employability benefits. So according to a survey by the British Council, who used to run the Erasmus scheme in the UK, 64% of employers believe that international experience is important when hiring, and a massive 92% believe that it increases employability. So studying abroad can help you develop really valuable skills that employers are looking for, and that includes things like adaptability, cross-cultural communication, independence, skills like that. So these are really highly valued by employers. And additionally, similar to the way that you can make friends while studying abroad, you can also you have the chance to network and to meet other students that are interested in your areas. And these are networks that continue long beyond your university experience and can help you in the business place as well.
Sounds brilliant. Thank you so much, Mark. That's really helpful to have you here to talk to us about those things. We're going to move back and ask a few more questions of our students, Fatima and Jachine, and sort of just been talking about employment there and kind of readying yourself for the workplace. We've had a few questions about the part-time job opportunities that there are that you could take on while you're studying. And so we're wondering if either of you have a part-time job, and if so, how easy you found it to find an employment opportunity in Glasgow. Jachine, do you want to start? Oh, sorry, it looks like Fatima, actually. I've cut you off. Fatima, you begin.
Yeah, so I have worked a few jobs since being at university. I started with a job in practice. I was doing the reception work for them, and then I moved into a job in retail, where I worked for a good few years. The pay was actually really competitive compared to other places, and that was just in a local Marks and Spencer store, stocking. And a lot of the other employers there at the time, employees at the time were also students. So it was kind of a nice, welcoming environment, and the managers were understanding to the fact that you couldn't work as many hours a week as some of the people that were working there full time. And then just in the last 2 years, I've got a new job, and I am now working in the hospital taking blood. And that again is just an 8-hour part-time job at the weekend. I would say it's easy enough to find a job at university as long as you find something that suits you and your timetable. It's subjective to everyone, of course, and everyone's degree, and how much you want to put into that degree and how much you want to put into working. There's so many job sites. I know the university often facilitates medical students getting jobs, for example, in the hospital, such as healthcare support worker jobs. I would say it's important to ensure you know why you're doing the job. For me, it gives me a break from university. I like meeting new people. I like talking to the patients at work. And yeah, like I said, it just gives me a break from the intensive 5 days at university that I have, and it lets me chat with other people and make new friends out with that university environment. So to answer the question, I would say it's easy enough. I've had the job obviously for 2 years, so the job market might have slightly changed, but I know all of my friends that have work have found it relatively easy to get jobs, and that's not just in healthcare. A lot of them are still working in retail or in hospitality, and they all seem to be enjoying it, and it gives them a break from university. So
Great, thank you, Fatima. Jachine, is there anything you would like to add?
Yes, right now I'm working for the university as a student content creator. Very flexible hours when it comes to my job, so it's a good opportunity for me to be able to focus on my uni work whilst also being able to have that job experience. As for applying for other stuff, definitely recommend going to different job agencies and applying through them to find job opportunities. As you know, there's also many different websites. You can also sign up for the careers newsletter that the university does. I had signed up for it, and there's many job opportunities, not only when you're on during the semester, but if you decide to stay during the summer, then you can go ahead and try and apply for the jobs that they advertise. They also do a bunch of internships as well, internship opportunities. You can also find that when you're applying through different job agencies. So there's a very wide range of stuff that you can do when it comes to work in Glasgow.
Yeah, I do think you're right, Jachine, that there's like quite a broad range with being in the city. There's lots of different working opportunities from that. But then also, like you say, there are lots of university opportunities. So as Jachine was saying, she works for us as a part-time content creator. There are also lots of internship availability at the university. So you will have seen that little information tab along the bottom directing you to the career service and the internship hub there. I know Mark has actually just sent me a message saying his team employs a number of student interns every year. So the university is always trying to find ways to give experiences and valuable work experiences alongside your learning experiences. So it's definitely worth checking out the kind of internships that are available. And I think it's really good advice, Fatima, to kind of there are many reasons why people might take on a job, and it might be just to do with, I just want to help paying my rent, or it might be, I want to break, do something completely different from what I do, or I want to do something that's really what I do because I'm trying to get more work experience to like get my degree, to have part of my degree to have time where I'm also kickstarting my career while I'm doing it. So there can be loads of reasons. If you're clear on what that is, you're going to be able to find the job that's right for you, or embark on your search in the right way. So that's great. Thank you. We've had a few questions regarding scholarships, and probably the best advice on that front is to we do have a number of scholarships available at the university, and all the information is brought together into an online search function. So we've got a scholarship database online that you can search, and you can search that by region, by subject, by your level of study. Most of our scholarships are available in the form of tuition fee discounts, and some are actually even awarded automatically. So upon application, if you are suitable for particular ones of our scholarships, they can be applied without you even having to do anything, which is great. So best thing to do as a first step is to go onto our website and take a look at the options that could be available for you using this web link that you're seeing now on the screen. Moving on, we're kind of talking about work and about scholarships, about money and finance. And one of the concerns, I guess, that we experience with people just starting university is talking about the kind of social aspect of their life and how easy it is to make friends. You talked about how, you found some friends working, Fatima, but there are different aspects to university, like societies and things like that can help you. So I'm just wondering how you both found making your friend group. You did touch on it a little bit earlier, but just maybe a short answer from each of you. If we start with Fatima this time.
Sure. So like I said, came from school at 17 years old, and I really knew no one at the time coming in my course when I was doing anatomy, and so it was slightly daunting. I made sure, however, to go to all the freshers events that tickled my fancy, and the year group at the time was huge, and even now medicine, it's huge. It's almost 350 people, and just by going to your classes is actually such a great way of making friends. You get to meet people that you wouldn't have otherwise. Lecture theatres, you see hundreds of people, and there's no way that you can get talking to them all, but by going to your small group-based teaching, it's a great way to make friends, and it's one of the ways that I have made some of my friends for life from university. And also, like Jachine and Katy had mentioned earlier, going to the society events, you don't necessarily need to be part of the society, but going to the society events is a great way to meet people from other courses as well, because I think it's really important to make sure that you're branching out. It's not a necessity, of course, but it's nice because sometimes when you're just talking to people in your course, it can be a bit overwhelming, but by talking to people, studying different things, you get different insights on things, and that's a great way as well to make friends. So I would say go to as many society events as you can, join as many societies that tickle your fancy, like I said, and also try and go to as many of your classes as you can. It might sound a bit cliche, but it really is one of the best ways to make some of your friends.
Great, Fatima. Would you have anything to add to that, Jachine?
Yes. For societies, I didn't realize how much of a broad range of societies there are. The open day, you can go and look at all the societies, but you can also go to the SRC website. And they also provide all of the different clubs and societies that are available throughout campus, and there's a lot. So you have a very wide range to choose from there. Also, it's a very good way to test out your skills outside of your course. Like for example, with sports, there's many different sports clubs from football to basketball, hockey, swimming. But then also if you're very artistic, there's also a lot of arts, or if you want like a little hobby like baking society, and then also languages if you want to enhance your languages. So it's very um, great that the university has many different opportunities to touch on maybe little skills that you want to enhance to maybe help you with like your portfolio when you're about to leave university. Just have that in clutch when making like applications for like different jobs. So yeah.
That's really great. My next question was going to be to ask about particular societies you've joined. If you feel like you've already covered it, feel free to give a really short answer. But if there's particular ones you have joined, it'd be nice to hear about what those are. Fatima?
I haven't joined any, but this year I actually created a society with my sister called Rareware Glasgow, and that's another fantastic opportunity at the university. Besides the 300 societies and clubs that you can join, you can actually set up your own, and the SRC help you facilitate this process. And so we set that up, and it's been a really great way again to make friends. We empower people through education, and we're enhancing so many skills, like Jachine just said, that we wouldn't particularly necessarily learn by studying the degree. We get to talk to patients, we get to talk to families, carers, and it's just a really lovely thing that we've done, and we feel so achieved only 2 years in, and it's such a fantastic opportunity that you can do when you come to Glasgow Uni.
That's great that you've just been able to set up one just for you that really suits what you want to do. Jachine, have you joined any or done any that you'd recommend?
I'd recommend for people who are coming from any African countries to do the African Caribbean Society. Also, if you're coming from the Caribbean as well, because having like a small minority of African and Caribbean students at the uni, sometimes it can feel like when you're looking in your lecture room and stuff, you're like, I don't kind of find people that have the same experiences as me. But going for the societies, and this also applies to anybody that's coming from abroad, there's many different cultural societies. So it's like if you're missing home, then definitely sign up for those. There's many for Latin, also I know there's one for the South Asian societies as well. Different stuff. There's many different ones that you can sign up for. When it comes to like if you miss home, then you have a little piece of home with you here.
That's a really great tip. Yeah, fantastic. So check those out. Okay, so moving on to talking about what our campus is like, because some people who are applying or thinking of applying will have never set foot on our campus and won't necessarily know what it looks like. So could you talk to us a bit about where are your favorite places to spend time on campus? Fatima, we'll start with you.
I'm not being biased, but the campus is lovely, and we're very fortunate, like I said, to have so many new buildings now. There's also so many nooks and crannies throughout the university. I like hanging out at 1A, the square. It's got its own wee cafeteria there. It's also just recently been renovated. You can sit there and study, or even just have a wee drink with your friends. And then there's the James McCune Smith building. I'm sure if some of you have come to the university, you'll have seen that. It's a huge new open facility. There's so many floors that you can sit on, study on, or you can do your exam there. If you're a medical student, you can look forward to that. And then just campus in general is lovely. You know, if you're coming to study medicine, you'll have access to the Wolfson building with its own library. Or if you don't want to be with medical students all the time, you've also got access to the main library itself. The campus is huge. We also have, I'm sure, a Dumfries campus, but the main campus in the West End is lovely, and I can't emphasize that enough. There are so many facilities for you to study in or just chill out in with your friends. And yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to go there every day. You can find a new place to sit every day, and it's just something to look forward to.
Yeah, it does feel like campus is really just changing all the time at the minute. There's lots of investment going on, new buildings, as you say, coming up, and just new places for students to get into and staff to get into all the time. So it's a really exciting time. How about you, Jachine? Where do you like to go when you're on campus?
Like Fatima said, going to the library and the James McCune Smith building are mostly the places that I go to. But otherwise, just having a little stroll around campus, going to the main building, although my classes are widespread around campus, going to the main building and just like seeing the architecture, taking a little break, and also you can study there with the benches around the quad. And there's also a museum there, so if you want to go and look at art, you can go through there. There's also a museum next to the library. Not quite sure about the name at the moment for that museum, but there's also many opportunities for you to go around campus if you want to take a break. Many cafes around campus as well, like the Hillcrest is really good. That's also in the main building as well, so just across the street from the library. And yeah, I think those are my favorite places.
That's great, like you say, like, yes, the main building, it's kind of has the ancient vibes coming from the main building. So we do have all these new buildings going up right now, but the main building is kind of, you've got your quad and where you have your graduation ceremony, and the museum that you're talking about is called the Hunterian, and it's got next to the library, there's some collections there. There's also some in the main building, and there's a reconstruction of a Charles Rennie Mackintosh house there as well. So there's loads of different artistic things to look at, and also in the Hunterian, although it's, you know, there's art, there's also a lot of kind of science exhibitions as well. So there's loads of different things to take a look at on campus. So moving on to just chat about student support as well, I guess, and just talk about any ways in which students can access support if they're struggling at all. Obviously, we hope that when everyone arrives, they settle right in and that their degree is working really well for them and they have a great experience. But of course, it's a time of life when lots of things are changing, exploring new things. You might be away from home for the first time. There can be all kinds of struggles that could come along with those experiences. So wondering if either of you are willing to talk to us briefly on ways that students can address this. Shall we start with Fatima?
Of course. So the university has numerous student service support outlets, and it's really lovely to know that that's there. Fortunately, I've never had to use them, but it is, like I say, such a reassuring thing to know that they're available. Every student at the university, for example, regardless of what you're studying, will get their own assigned advisor of studies who will often drop you emails and let you know that they're there. And it's really nice to know that you have that point of contact throughout the entirety of your degree if something's troubling you. There's also the Student Service Inquiry Team, who are based in the Fraser Building, I believe, and you can always go to them if something is troubling you, and then they can refer you on to the respective service that suits best. Importantly, the university also offers counselling and disability services, and they're available throughout the entirety of your degree again, and they can facilitate things if you've had them at school in place, such as extra time, for example, and there's many more things that the university can offer to support you if that's something you require. And I've not experienced it myself, but I'm sure for those living in halls, there is a living support team that are based in the residents themselves. So again, I'm sure that's of reassurance to some of you who might be coming and staying in halls, who are moving away from home for the first time, for example, and it's really good to just know that that's there. And finally, we have the SRC Advice Centre in their building and the main campus, where you can always just pop in, and the SRC are always there to answer any questions you have, really a broad range of things, whether you need society help or anything else, they're always there. So that's really the broad range of things that are coming to mind that we have to offer at the university, and I hope that's reassuring to some of you who are coming to join us.
That's brilliant. That's a really good overview. Like you say, there's loads of different kind of avenues for support. The SRC, which is right next to the main gates of the main building, so it's an easy thing to find. But there's options online. There are apps available. So, you know, whether it's something that you want to do in person or you just want to drop someone an email and receive support that way, there's loads of different options. And the best thing to do is go to that student support webpage if you want to explore what those can be before you arrive, and that will give you an overview and point you in all the different directions that you can go to access the support that's there. So thanks very much. We're going to talk now a little bit about the city of Glasgow, and just how student friendly it is, what your experiences of city life have been. So maybe Jachine, you could kick off as a kind of new resident of Glasgow when you arrived here, how you found the city.
I really like it here. It's very nice, and everybody here is friendly. The student population here is also quite big because you have a bunch of other universities that are around the city as well. So you're most likely going to see students almost everywhere that you look. And there's a lot of things to explore. The cuisine here is very versatile. You can try things from many different countries and many different continents as well. Also, there's a lot of parks around the city as well, and they're also very widespread. So it's a good opportunity to go to different parts like the South Side, the West End, near I'll just say around those areas because those are the areas I'm very familiar with. But yeah, those are very widespread as well. So it helps you to bounce around, and also the different activities that you can do. I'm very keen on thrift shopping, so going to the South Side and even the West End are also very big places. So you're going in and out of different parts of the city for those things as well. And yeah, there's also many different activities. Music scene is also a very big thing, as I touched on before. There's a lot of different concerts that go around for small and big artists in many different venues, and even the venues are very widespread in different locations. So lots of different opportunities to go and explore not only the area around campus, which is the West End, but also going to many different areas around the city as well for different events and opportunities.
Great, thank you. It sounds like you've really got to know the city pretty well in the years you've been here. How about you, Fatima? Would you add anything as a Glasgow resident?
As a Glasgow resident that's lived here for almost my whole life, I think the West End is genuinely student village. There are students everywhere you go. It's so student friendly. There's so many cafes who also offer student discounts, which is really nice. It gives you some money off, and what we're living in is just inflation, inflation, inflation. So that's really reassuring to know. And the university itself has so many facilities like we touched on earlier. So yeah, I think as a city, Glasgow's amazing. It's so diverse. Everyone feels welcome, culturally diverse, which was really important to me. And the West End is a place to live or even just study. It's always buzzing with life. You know, literally morning to night, there's something to do. There's hundreds of cafes. People travel across Glasgow to come to the West End. The queues are sometimes crazy out the doors, but it's just such a lovely place to study. And if you're fortunate enough to live in as well. So
Brilliant, thank you. We also, just for anyone who isn't aware, we have a campus. Our main campus is in Glasgow, but we also have a small campus in Dumfries. So Dumfries is about 2 hours south of Glasgow, and it has some really frequent transport links down there. It's a beautiful kind of countryside vibe down at Dumfries. So it's in the southwest of Scotland, very well known for its kind of community feel. And if you're interested in studying in that kind of environment, you can find out more about the courses and things that are available there using the web page, which is now on screen. So you touched on it here about we're living inflation, us and the rest of the world. So how do you find it in terms of how expensive is it to live and study in Glasgow right now? Jachine.
Right now, honestly, it depends on you as a person when it comes to how you want to budget your life and the many different things that you like to do. So of course, like cost of living has been going up, so making sure that you're prioritizing those things above like your main activities of like having fun with your friends and stuff. But otherwise, yeah, as long as you budget yourself well, then I don't think it's a problem here to spend stuff. Again, like Fatima said, there's many different discounts for students, so it's a bit of a load off of stuff. So always ask about student discounts at restaurants, shopping centers, if there's anything. Also shopping, going grocery shopping as well. If you want to sign up for different shops, club cards or anything to decrease the load and earn points in order for you to decrease the load about you shopping in different areas. And also you can get a bus card as well, that for under 22s, so that when you come onto campus and you want to travel and you want to go by bus, you get free bus travel as well. I've been using that, and it's been very helpful to take the load off of my cost of living as well. And yeah.
That's great. Some really good tips in there. We're coming to the end of our stream now. So just to mention that, of course, if anyone is worried about the cost of living crisis and wants to make sure that their money is going as far as possible, that the university does have a cost of living support hub set up for students. So anyone who's struggling can access financial aid or support and advice. The Student Advice Centre run by the Student Representative Council, the SRC, also has information that can be helpful. And like we've talked about, there's part-time work, careers, make that available. There's also a range of vlogs that we have on our YouTube channel, which address these kind of issues and places people have found jobs and tips for making the most of your money while you're studying. So just very quickly, if you wouldn't mind just telling us why you would recommend UofG to Glasgow before we finish up for today. Fatima.
Glasgow, I feel like an ambassador being here for 6 years now, but Glasgow is genuinely such an amazing city to live in. It's buzzing with life always. The people are so lovely. They will welcome you with open hands. The university is literally real life Hogwarts, so what's not to love? The architecture is absolutely amazing. And like Katy mentioned, there's so many investments going in right now. We've got so many new amazing buildings that you can use to study or just to relax in. And the Glasgow student life itself is pretty amazing. The West End's fantastic. So what's not to love? I think everyone, if you can, should come to Glasgow. And if you do, make sure to say hello, and I will say hello and welcome you with open arms into the university.
That's great. Thank you. And Jachine.
I think Fatima basically touched on a lot of things, but I'd also say that it's also a nice, calm city as well. But as it's buzzing with life as well, it's also just a nice place to live in, and there's lots of many activities for you to do. So if you feel like you're gonna get bored here, you're definitely not gonna get bored here. And also it gives you a nice opportunity to also explore the bigger country that is Scotland as well. So yeah.
Thanks, that's a really great point. Mark, is there anything you'd like to add as a member of staff about the best reason to come to Glasgow?
Yeah, I think for me it's the people at the University of Glasgow, and also the collaborative nature. I mean, you can see today there's 2 different departments working and 2 students working together to provide information and support for students. So that's really great to see. And the fact that all the staff are always working towards improving the student experience. There's not really a week goes by where you don't see a member of staff kind of go beyond the college duty for a student to help them, to help support them, sorry. So yeah, I think that's it's a culture of the university that I love.
Yes, I would definitely echo that. And I just want to take this moment to thank you guys so much for coming and doing this Q&A with us today. You've given us really generous and useful answers. I'm sure everyone really appreciates it. Thank you from me. I mean, the UofG community, it's a really friendly one. We definitely want to be on board to welcome new people in and to help people feel like they belong. And I hope that you felt that today if you've joined us for this Q&A. And whether you're considering applying for us or you already have an offer and you know you're going to be joining us in autumn, just want to wish you best of luck with your journey, and we hope to see you on campus sometime soon. So thanks once again for joining us, and we hope that we were helpful here today.